Yes, sir.
It's never guessed, but there's certain individuals that are resistant to getting the HIV virus, and it's supposed to be maybe some tied to the Black Plague during European. Can you give some elaboration as to your understanding of the resistance?
So, as I said, there are some people who seem to not have caught it, even though they've been at fairly high risk for many, many years. And there are others who have, there are some alleles that confer a little bit of protection. So that, for instance, if in the CCR5 gene you have a particular pair of alleles, you are less likely to catch one of the versions of the virus. This allele is found at high frequency in northwestern Europe and elsewhere in Europe. It's basically not found in Africa or in Asia. It's been hypothesized that it does something with the immune system. The Black Plague was huge in Europe, hundreds of years ago. Maybe the reason the gene has such high frequency amongst these people is those that just luckily had it survived the Black Plague, passed on their genes, and there are more people alive in those regions today because of that. That's pure speculation at the moment. It's a great hypothesis, but at the moment, it's still quite speculative. We have a chance of testing it, though. If we can go to European cemeteries and get DNA out of people who were alive before the Black Plague and see if that gene was present then, and then it increased dramatically after the Black Plague, that might be stronger evidence. And then, of course, we can try to figure out how the plague's still around us today. How do those genes interact with it? But that's what nature has done, again, over millions of years in all of these monkeys and ape species. All these little individual experiments where this mutation changing this protein or enzyme or interaction of immune genes has conferred a slight advantage, and those individuals pass it on in the future. That's the crux and essence of evolution, differential reproductive success. And so again, nature has done it. We can try to learn from her and figure out how we might be able to do it ourselves. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm reading that within the chimp species, there are the bonobo chimps and the other species that they're finding out now conduct war campaigns and are territorial.
Yeah.
Which group are we closest to?
We're actually equally distant. So it just so happens we have two, if you think of them as a distant branch of the family, all chimps, and that branch has sub-branches, we are equally distant to both of those branches of chimps. So we're not inherently warlike, nor inherently promiscuous. Bonobos have that reputation. But we're equally distant from the role. We have the propensity for both, unfortunately. Yes, sir. Excuse me? Well, they got it after we split from them. We split from chimps 6 million years ago. It's thought the first immunodeficiency virus may have infected primates about 5 million years ago. So we just got unlucky and didn't get it. Asian primates also get it and die from it. It's only African primates. So it's hypothesized that the virus entered Africa about 5 million years ago, perhaps with large cats. If any of you have a cat at home, you've probably had it tested for or inoculate, for FIV, feline immunodeficiency virus. It seems one hypothesis is that when a large cat with FIV migrated into Africa and began to infect other cats and then primates, that this sort of epidemic began. there, and that's why you don't see immunity in Asia. Yes?
So how are the Asians diagnosed with HIV before they got
Oh, I'm sure they also got sick and died from it, but, not every one of them. And they're different from us. They don't live in huge populations. They don't travel, hundreds of kilometers or whatever. So if you have a disease in a small population, in a small patch of forest, it doesn't easily spread widely. So you probably had multiple populations that had slightly different mutations in genes in their immune system or their receptors. Some populations might have gone completely extinct from it. Others survived. They then grew and spread. And again, over time, the ones that were able to survive it better are the populations that grew and became stronger. Yes? So large cats, so what we reckon, tigers or lions and stuff like that, actually came from Asia. And so FIV is found throughout cats all over the world. But when a large-bodied cat moved into Africa, this is just hypothesis at the moment, moved into Africa, probably attacked apes and monkeys. Some of them survived but got scratched or bit, and then it slowly spread through those animals. But so there's FIV all over the world, but only the monkeys and apes in Africa were lucky enough to slowly develop. But multiple different species developed immunity independently of each other. And so again, given time and evolutionary pressure, it's like we do with our own research. If we could do enough experiments over enough time, we'd probably lick this thing. But why don't we use nature as a result as well to help us? Yes? Thank you.
I want to know if SIV is not like all primates, right? Is SIV also found in Neanderthals?
Probably wasn't. They, first of all, they didn't live in Africa, so they might have been out of Africa. So while there might have been SIV floating around Africa when Neanderthals lived in Europe, they weren't hunting the primates. There were no primates in Europe that had it. The SIV is only found in African primates, not found in Asian primates. So if Neanderthals, Neanderthals would have never killed and butchered an infected monkey. So my guess is they wouldn't have had it. And if we look at their genes now, we're going to see they probably have none of these special genes like are found that might help. Would be my guess. We can now do this. That involves sitting down at the computer and doing a whole bunch of searches for all these different. You just gave me an idea now. Those 11 genes we looked at in all the primates, I can go back to the lab this afternoon and look those same genes up in Neanderthals. Well, so what we can do is we can sort of extrapolate. So we can look at the chimpanzee genome and human and chimp genome, and we can computer model, we can mutate, say, what would the genome look like 2 million years ago? What would the genome look like 4 million years ago? We can come up with estimates of sort of that predicted ancestor. And then we could look at their protein.